In early 2021, a dying video game retainer became the start of a financial battle. GameStop, a company most people thought was done for, suddenly found itself in the middle of a global stock market frenzy.
World's largest video game retailer, GameStop Corp.
GameStop.
One of the most volatile weeks on Wall Street.
At first, it looked like a modern-day David versus Goliath. Ordinary people taking on Wall Street hedge funds. And for a moment, it looked like David had beaten Goliath. But what if, behind the memes, the headlines, and the chaos, the real winners were never the Redditors, but the billionaires, hiding in plain sight?
I think this reflects a basic corruption of our society and a corruption of our financial markets.
Is that a David versus Goliath story? No.
This is what really happened during the GameStop short squeeze, and how the biggest profits went to the people no one was talking about. In 1984, GameStop started a small software shop in Texas named Babbage's. Over the years, it became the destination for video games, consoles, and accessories. But apart from that, they always had a legendary trade-in model, aka turning your $60 game into store credit worth a pack of gum. But that's the prehistoric era of GameStop. The real story begins in 2021, when in the midst of the pandemic, GameStop was failing badly.
So the world's largest video game retailer announced plans to close 180 to 200 underperforming stores in the U.S. and abroad. GameStop warned that even more stores could close over the next 2 years.
We're going to start with GameStop, the company reporting a loss of a penny per share, revenue of $1.1 billion, falling short of the $1.2 billion.
In an era of online retail, not many people were going to physical stores to buy games. And that's why GameStop was on its last legs. So many big hedge funds believed that the company's stock price would decline. And that's why they planned to bet against GameStop. In other words, they shorted GameStop. In the stock market, short selling is a process where you borrow shares, sell them at the current price, then promise to buy them back later. If the stock drops, you gain profit. But if it rises, losses can be huge. GameStop was under heavy short-selling pressure from hedge funds like Melvin Capital, a Wall Street giant managing billions of dollars. To most, the bet made sense. GameStop looked like a dying company with no future. Short sellers like Melvin were set to make billions, until one guy changed everything.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Roaring Kitty.
Keith Gill started his YouTube channel as a hobby where he used to share his stock tracking methods. Apart from Roaring Kitty, he also used to post on Reddit under the name Deep Fucking Value. But he had no idea he was about to start a revolution.
The first stock that I'm going to talk about is GameStop, and I know it's a polarizing stock. Some people won't even tune into the stream right now when they hear that I'm bullish on GameStop. It's July 2020 right now, and I'm bullish on GameStop at the current price point of about $4 per share.
At first, Reddit users laughed at him, calling his investment thesis a joke. But soon, it all came true. As the stock price rose, his initial $50K investment started to grow exponentially.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Cheers! Happy Friday, happy holidays. I hope everyone's having a great week. Surprise! GameStop's up about 5x from when I uploaded those videos over the summer, so that's great to see.
This man single-handedly defeated the big hedge fund companies, so he became a celebrity in Wall Street bets. Now, people were not only taking him seriously, but also copying his bets. These Reddit posts were getting millions of views. Soon, it became a revolution. People started investing in GameStop, and that made the share prices soar even higher. GameStop stocks exploded, from $20 to $50, then $100, then $400 in a matter of days. Elon Musk tweeted GameStocks. Mark Cuban joined Reddit AMAs. Even members of Congress were suddenly tweeting about short selling and market manipulation. The idea was simple. Hedge funds had bet against GameStop by shorting its stock. To close these positions, they would eventually need to buy back the shares. Redditors realized that by holding on to their shares and not selling, they could create scarcity in the market. This scarcity would force short sellers to buy back these shares at higher prices, driving the stock price even higher. So the strategy was clear. Just hold. By 2024, Keith Gill's investment of $50K turned into a fortune of over $50 million. In a way, his predictions beat the hedge fund giants, and that's why experts considered it a David versus Goliath story. Or so it seemed. By January 2021, it looked like the common man had won. Melvin Capital had lost 53% of its portfolio and needed a $2.75 billion bailout from Citadel. Citron Research, another major short seller, also suffered huge losses. In total, short sellers lost nearly $19 billion that month. So clearly, hedge funds companies lost this battle. But then the question is, who made the real money from this squeeze? While the media was fixated on r/Wall Street bets and fallen hedge funds, a handful of Wall Street insiders were quietly making millions. By piecing together SEC filings and trade data, a hidden side of the story emerges. Take Richard Marshall's Sinvest Management. They bought 3.6 million GameStop shares at $10. When the stock hit $400, they sold for a $700 million profit. And probably the biggest individual winner in the story was Ryan Cohen.
Breaking news on GameStop, a bit of Game of Thrones there. Steve Kovac has the details.
Yeah, exactly right, John. So GameStop has fired its CEO, and the board has elected Ryan Cohen, who we all know. He is now executive chairman of GameStop.
Ryan Cohen was the former co-founder of the pet food brand Chewy. But by 2021, he bought 9 million shares of GameStop, which was approximately 13% of the company, and ultimately became the CEO of GameStop. Even in the Reddit community, Ryan Cohen was seen as a messiah, and people were seeing him as the symbol of revolution. In his tweets, he often joked about wealth and being rich, but in reality, he was sitting on a fortune. At the peak of GameStop's surge, his stake was worth around $2.9 billion. Despite the hype, he didn't cash out. Even today, he's still holding and sitting on gains of over 800%. Also, not all marketing firms were at a loss during this mania. Citadel Securities alone processed nearly 50% of all GameStop trades during the frenzy, $4.2 billion worth in one day. Virtu Financial handled another 26%. Susquehanna held millions in shares, call options, and puts, meaning they made money when the stock went up and again when it came back down. These firms weren't guessing. They were positioned to win no matter what. Meanwhile, the so-called winners held the stock too long. Some bought near the top, some never sold at all, and when the price came down, most of them didn't walk away rich. They walked away with losses. Long story short, while Redditors celebrated their revolution, Wall Street giants like Citadel, Virtu, and Susquehanna quietly handled nearly 90% of off-exchange GameStop trades. They weren't posting memes, but they were the real winners. At the center of it all was Robinhood, the go-to platform for retail traders. But when Robinhood restricted buying of GameStop shares at the peak of the squeeze, while allowing users to sell, it caused outrage, and not just online.
Between December 2019 and December 2020, Robinhood customers experienced monetary losses due to system outages. Customer accounts were reportedly compromised. The firm repeatedly failed to testify its best execution obligations, and it misled its customers regarding its revenue sources. It seems retail investors often get a bad deal at Robinhood.
In February 2021, Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev, along with executives from Citadel, Melvin Capital, Reddit, and even Keith Gill himself, were called to testify before Congress. Lawmakers questioned whether retail investors had been misled, specifically about how Robinhood makes money by selling its order flow to Citadel Securities, Because if Robinhood gets paid by Citadel to route trades, could that financial relationship have influenced its decision to freeze buying on GameStop? Citadel denied this and testified that it did not influence Robinhood's decision to restrict trading. But despite all this, no major penalties were handed down and no one was fined. There was literally no meaningful charge. And that's the whole point. While retail investors suffered, the real players walked away richer than ever. It showed us that the same billionaires who lost the fight still won the war, and that the Goliath always finds a way to stay standing. This isn't the first time we've seen billions of dollars moved behind the scenes. Check out our previous video on the Bitfinex hack, where two people were trying to launder $4.5 billion in stolen Bitcoin while pretending to be startup founders and rappers. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.